So especially so you have a smaller landowner and they've got a lot of different reasons for owning the land, but they're wanting to get a management plan, and it's really best to just have like one main goal you're trying to reach instead of having, like three or four different goals that kind of split up your time, especially if this is not their full-time career. You may only get to spend a few weekends out there doing stuff. What would be your advice for going out and actually deciding on a main plan?
Yeah, so I mean, I always revert back, and I say this, not just with your overarching forest management plan, but I think I give the same advice when you're looking at trying to start something. Maybe it's alternative income, right? But this kind of goes hand in hand in my view of just how to break this down and how to think through this process. And the one thing I think they first need to think about is that and understand is, landowners, these aren't, most of the time, these different objectives they have aren't just kind of, yeah, that's what I want to do, let's initiate it and walk away from it.
Yeah.
These are things that are going to need time, going to need effort, going to need consistent, attention and planning to be successful at. And I think that's one thing to think about. So I think the two things that I kind of drive landowners to think through the most is, one, the suitability. And what I mean for that is it, your goals and objectives suitable for the property you have? Are your goals and objectives sustainable, not only based on the resources you have in the property, but for you, right?
Yeah.
Is it something that's going to fit your lifestyle? Is it something that is sustainable from, whether it's a cost capacity standpoint, financial capacity? Is it just resource availability? Is it time commitment? Those two things. So suitability and sustainability are things I really push landowners to think about when they kind of get started, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess the biggest thing, one thing you can tie back to all this, and you've probably heard me say this before, is, and this is just a statement. It's not always directly about, producing something, but in really anything they do, from a landowner standpoint, is, kind of to cover that is, there's not always a reason. You don't have to produce something all the time, right, to meet your goals. So what I mean by that is if you don't have a market there, then what's the good in focusing your objectives on timber, right?
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
you have markets there and you're not focusing on timber, it's kind of the flip, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of dynamics. They got to think about the ecological side of things. They got to think about the social aspects. They also got to think about the economic aspects of it. But kind of an umbrella of all of that needs to be kind of what the suitability is for their property. What species they have, what's their property good at producing naturally. Uh, what the capabilities are, what their capacity is there, and then the sustainability, not just from a resource standpoint, but a personal standpoint.
Yeah. And it is very important to consider that personal standpoint, and also when you're going through that, be very realistic of your abilities and the time that you're going to spend. Because I know, at least with me, like if I could spend every day out on the property, I most certainly would.
Right.
And I would love to like plan all of these wonderful activities and get the land, back just perfect. But in all reality, I don't have all the time to spend out there. And that's really where like picking, the most important things to get done. And that's where I would kind of advocate for get out on your land and see what's the most important to you. What do you
Mm-hmm.
notice when you first go out there? And that will kind of help a little bit with deciding those goals.
Yeah, and kind of the first step is really, and I don't think this can be overstated, is it's really know your woods, right?
Yes.
Understand what you have, understand what resources you have there, what they are, what they should be based on your forest type, what the history of it was, what's been done there in the past. take some time to really take all that in and really get an understanding of that, because that's something you can build off of as a landowner going forward. And like I said, management plans can get complicated. They can get complicated really quick, but they don't have to be, right?
Yeah.
Our goal is not to create a 1,000-page management plan for everybody, right?
No.
Our goal is to the management plan. The goal of the management plan is really essentially there to provide guidance and understanding of when things are going to occur, when you should do things, timelines, and really taking in those different factors that can help you reach those goals. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be, and it can get there very quickly, but that's where it comes into really, I think you just got to step back. You got to understand what you have, know what you're dealing with, know your woods, understand your resources, and be true to yourself in terms of what's suitable and what's sustainable. And I've said that multiple times, but that sustainability is kind of two-factor, right? It's two-pronged. Yeah. It's what you got to think about what's suitable and sustainable for yourself, but what's suitable and sustainable for your property as well.